The humid air of Lagos clung to everything like an unwelcome guest. In the quiet, tree-lined streets of Ikeja GRA, where once grand houses stood behind high walls topped with broken bottles, Sophia Adebayo stood on the balcony of her family home and watched the sun sink behind the skyline of half-finished high-rises. The house, number 17, Adeniyi Jones Avenue, was still beautiful in the way old money lingers. White columns, wide verandas, a garden that had once boasted imported roses but now fought against creeping weeds and neglect. Inside, the living room smelled faintly of camphor and old books. Sophia's mother, Grace Adebayo, sat in the armchair her husband had favored, a worn Bible open on her lap though she hadn't turned a page in 20 minutes. "Sophia, come and sit," Grace said without looking up. Her voice carried the soft authority of someone who had once commanded boardrooms through her husband's name. Sophia stepped inside, slipping off her sandals. At 26 she was tall, with skin the color of polished mahogany and eyes that people said reminded them of her father's, sharp, kind, and a little too knowing. She had graduated with first-class honors in business administration from the University of Lagos 3 years earlier, yet the only job she had managed to hold on to was a part-time administrative role at a small logistics firm in Ikeja. The salary barely covered fuel for the old Toyota her father had left behind. Grace closed the Bible. "The estate agent came again today. He says the market is good right now. Buyers are looking for properties in GRA. We could get enough to clear the outstanding school fees for your cousin's children, pay the PHCN bill that's 3 months behind, and still have something left to start over." Sophia felt the familiar knot tighten in her chest. "Mummy, this is Daddy's house. He built it with his own hands. He always said this was our legacy." "Legacy doesn't pay for diesel," Grace replied quietly. "Legacy doesn't buy medicine when the pressure starts climbing again." She touched her temple as though the headache was already arriving. "Your father would not want us to suffer like this." Sophia sat on the edge of the sofa. She knew the numbers better than anyone. Emmanuel Adebayo had died 5 years earlier, sudden and merciless, a heart attack at 58 while inspecting a new warehouse in Apapa. He had been the kind of man Lagos respected: church elder, Rotarian, sponsor of youth football tournaments, quiet philanthropist who paid school fees for strangers' children without fanfare. His import-export businesses, electronics from Dubai, textiles from China, had made him comfortable, not ostentatious. After his death, the companies had stumbled. Managers embezzled, suppliers defaulted, customs officials demanded bribes. He was no longer alive to negotiate. What remained was the house, 2 cars that drank fuel like water, and a dwindling bank account that Grace guarded like a dying ember. "I spoke to Lara yesterday," Sophia said, changing the subject. "She says there's an opening at her fashion house. Assistant manager. Better pay." Grace gave a small, tired smile. "Lara is a good friend. But even that won't be enough forever." She paused. "Have you spoken to Daniel lately?" Sophia's stomach twisted. "This morning. He's still at the tech hub in Yaba. They're teaching him full-stack development now. He says in 6 months he'll have enough skills to freelance properly." Grace sighed. 6 months. Another 6 months. "Sophia, you are 26. I was married at 23. Your father had already bought land by 25. Daniel is a good boy, but good boys don't build houses. They dream. Dreams don't pay school fees or hospital bills." Sophia looked away. She had met Daniel Okafor in her final year at Unilag. He had been the funny one in the computer science practicals, quick with a joke, quicker with code. Back then he had ambition that felt like electricity. Plans for an app that would connect small traders in Oshodi to buyers online, dreams of raising capital from Andala or CCHUB. They had fallen in love the way young people do: late-night calls, shared earphones on campus benches, promises whispered under the flame of the forest trees. But 5 years had passed. Daniel still lived with his elder brother in a face-me-I-face-you apartment in Soyulir. No salary yet, only stipends from occasional freelance gigs that barely covered data and transport. He loved her fiercely, too fiercely sometimes. Lately his messages came laced with suspicion. "Who was that man who liked your post? Why did you smile at that colleague in the staff photo?" Sophia told herself it was insecurity, not malice. Love made people afraid, didn't it? "I love him, Mummy," she said softly. Grace reached across and took her daughter's hand. "I know. But love is not enough when the generator refuses to start and the landlord is knocking. You are beautiful, educated, from a good family. There are men who would take care of both of us. Men who would keep this house so your father's name stays on the gate. Sophia pulled her hand back gently. You want me to marry for money? I want you to marry for peace, Grace corrected. There is a difference. That night Sophia lay awake listening to the distant rumble of generators and the occasional cry of a night trader hawking pure water. She thought of Daniel's last text. Baby, I'm close. Just wait for me. I swear I'll make it. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe in the version of them that still existed in her memory, laughing in the rain on campus, planning a future that felt possible. The next evening she agreed to go out with Lara. Just one drink, Lara had insisted. You need to breathe, Sophia. You're carrying the whole house on your shoulders. They chose a nightclub on Victoria Island, Velvet Lounge, one of the newer spots where Lagos's young elite gathered on Friday nights. The music was loud, Afrobeats remixed with house beats, the air thick with perfume, sweat, and expensive whiskey. Sophia wore a simple black dress Lara had designed, fitted at the waist, flaring at the hips. She felt exposed, but Lara kept telling her she looked like a queen. They found a table near the bar. Lara ordered cocktails. Sophia asked for Chapman. She watched the crowd, men in designer shirts, women with long lashes and higher heels, feeling both part of it and apart from it. Then she saw him. He stood near the DJ booth, laughing with a group of friends. Tall, broad-shouldered, skin the color of dark honey. He wore a crisp white shirt rolled to the elbows, sleeves revealing a watch that caught the strobe lights. Something about the way he carried himself, relaxed but commanding, made people turn. Their eyes met across the pulsing floor. He smiled. Not a smirk, not a leer, just a slow, genuine smile that made the noise around her fade for a second. Lara noticed. Who is that? I don't know, Sophia murmured. But he was already moving toward them. He stopped at their table, hands in his pockets. Good evening, he said, voice low enough to cut through the music. I'm Victor Ease. I hope I'm not interrupting. Lara grinned like she'd won a bet. Not at all. I'm Lara. This is Sophia. Victor's gaze settled on Sophia. The moment you walked in, the whole place felt brighter. Like someone turned on the lights in a blackout. I had to come and see who was carrying the sun. Sophia laughed despite herself. That's a very poetic way to say hello. I'm an engineer, he said with a small shrug. We deal in structures. Sometimes words feel like the only way to build something real. Lara excused herself with exaggerated subtlety, muttering something about the restroom. Victor took her seat. They talked. He told her he was a civil engineer, recently returned from a project in Port Harcourt. He had just won a major contract, expansion of the Lekki-Ypres Expressway link. Celebration drinks with his team. She told him about her father's businesses, carefully editing out the parts that hurt. He listened the way few men did, without interrupting, without turning the conversation back to himself. When the DJ dropped a slow jam, Victor extended his hand. May I? She hesitated only a moment. On the dance floor he held her respectfully, one hand at her waist, the other clasping hers. He smelled of clean soap and sandalwood. She felt something loosen inside her chest, something that had been tight for too long. Later, outside in the humid night air, he asked for her number. She gave it. As she climbed into the Bolt with Lara, her phone buzzed. Daniel, where are you? You said you'd call by 10. Sophia stared at the message, guilt and defiance warring inside her. She typed back, out with Lara. Home soon. Then she looked at Victor's name in her contacts, new, untested, full of possibility, and felt a dangerous flicker of hope. Across town, in a cramped room in Sawyer, Daniel Okafor sat on the edge of his mattress, staring at his phone. The screen showed Sophia's last scene, 1:47 a.m. He refreshed it again. Still nothing. He opened WhatsApp, scrolled to their chat. The last photo she had sent him was from 2 weeks ago, her smiling in the office garden, sunlight catching her hair. He zoomed in. There was a man in the background, laughing, too close. Daniel's grip tightened until his knuckles ached. He whispered to the empty room, You're mine, Sophia. No one else gets to have you. The generator outside coughed and died, plunging the room into darkness. The days after Velvet Lounge blurred into a secret rhythm Sophia had never known. Victor texted every morning, good morning messages with photos of the sunrise over the Atlantic from his balcony in Lekki Phase 1. He sent voice notes too, his deep voice calm against the chaos of her life. Thinking of you. Hope your day starts gently. She listened to them in the bathroom with the door locked, smiling like a schoolgirl while Grace banged pots in the kitchen. They met discreetly at first. Coffee at a quiet cafe in Ikoyi where the waiters knew to keep tables private. Walks along the waterfront at Tarkwa Bay on weekends when the crowds were thin. Victor never pushed. He asked questions, about her father's business, about the dreams she still carried from university, about why she sometimes went quiet when money came up. She answered carefully, editing out Daniel, editing out the mounting bills taped to the fridge like accusations. One evening, after a long day at the office where her boss had snapped at her for a misplaced file, Victor drove her to his house. It was modern, all glass and clean lines, overlooking the lagoon. Inside smelled of fresh linen and lemongrass. He cooked jollof rice himself, his mother's recipe, he said, while she sat on a high stool watching him move with the same quiet confidence he brought to everything. You don't have to do this, she said. I can order something. I want to, he replied, stirring the pot. Besides, you look like you haven't eaten properly in days. They ate on the terrace. The city lights glittered across the water like scattered diamonds. Victor told her about the bridge project, how the soil tests had nearly derailed everything, how he'd spent nights recalculating load-bearing capacities until his eyes burned. She told him about her father's warehouse in Apapa, how as a child she'd run between stacks of crates pretending they were castles. When he kissed her that night it felt like permission, to breathe, to want, to forget for a few hours that the house in Ikeja was slowly slipping away. But secrets have weight. Daniel's calls had become relentless. At first they were soft, I miss you, baby. Just checking in. Then sharper, why aren't you picking up? Who are you with? She replied less and less. One night he sent a screenshot of her Instagram story, a blurry shot of the lagoon at dusk. Nice view. New friend? She blocked him for 3 days. Then guilt pulled her back. She unblocked him, sent a long message, Daniel, we need space. I'm not disappearing, but I can't keep doing this. Please. His reply came at 2:14 a.m. Space? You mean someone else's bed? I know you, Sophia. I've always known you. She deleted the thread and turned off her phone. At home, Grace watched her daughter with narrowing eyes. The generator fuel lasted longer these days. Victor had quietly sent money through a discreet transfer Sophia pretended came from an overdue client payment. Grace didn't ask too many questions, but she noticed the new dresses, the way Sophia hummed while sweeping the compound. You're glowing, Grace said one Saturday morning over tea. Is it a man? Sophia hesitated. Maybe. Grace set her cup down carefully. Is he responsible? His, kind, and stable. Grace nodded slowly. Bring him to meet me when you're ready. But Sophia, if he's serious, don't waste time. Life doesn't wait for perfect timing. That same afternoon Lara dragged Sophia to Badagry market to source fabric for a new collection. The market was alive, hawkers shouting prices, Okada riders weaving through crowds, the smell of fried plantain and diesel mixing in the heat. Lara haggled like a pro while Sophia trailed behind, phone buzzing. Victor, dinner tonight? My place. I have news. She smiled. Yes. 7? When she got home, Daniel was waiting outside the gate. He looked thinner, eyes red-rimmed, shirt wrinkled. He leaned against the old Toyota like he owned it. Sophia, he said. His voice cracked. We need to talk. She froze. Daniel, not here. Mummy's inside. Then let's go somewhere. Please. Against every instinct, she followed him to a small booker 2 streets away. They sat at a plastic table under a flickering bulb. He ordered 2 bottles of star beer. She asked for water. I saw you, he said quietly. Last week. With him. At that fancy spot in Ikeja. You were laughing. You looked happy. Sophia's throat tightened. I didn't know you were there. I wasn't stalking, he snapped, then softened. I was just passing. I miss you so much it hurts. Every day. I'm trying, Sophia. I got a small contract last week, building a website for a pharmacy in Soyalir. It's not much, but it's a start. She looked at her hands. I'm happy for you. But you're moving on, he said. With some rich engineer who can buy you whatever you want. It's not about money. Then what is it about? His voice rose. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you traded me in for comfort. The word stung because part of her feared they were true. Daniel, we were hurting each other, she said. You checking my phone, accusing me of things I didn't do. Me feeling guilty every time I smiled at someone else. That wasn't love. That was fear. He reached across the table. I can change. I swear. Just give me time. She pulled back. I can't. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood, chair scraping concrete. You'll regret this, he said quietly. Not because I'll do anything, but because one day you'll realize money doesn't keep you warm at night. He walked out. She sat there until the beer bottles sweated rings onto the table. That night at Victor's, he opened a bottle of wine and pulled out 2 plane tickets. Dubai, he said, grinning. 2 weeks after the wedding, if you'll have me. Sophia stared at the tickets. Wedding. He went down on one knee right there on the terrace, ring box open. A simple diamond solitaire caught the light. Sophia Adebayo, I know it's fast. But I've never been more sure of anything. Marry me. Tears came before words. She said yes. He slipped the ring on, kissed her like the world had just begun. They called Grace the next morning. She cried so hard Sophia thought the line had dropped. Victor promised to come for a proper introduction that weekend. Word spread quickly in their small circle. Lara screamed down the phone. Grace started listing relatives who must be invited. The house in Ikeja felt lighter, like it had been waiting for good news. But that Friday evening, as Sophia tried on a potential wedding dress Lara had loaned her, her phone buzzed with a video call request from an unknown number. She answered without thinking. Daniel's face filled the screen. Behind him, bottles on a table. His eyes were glassy. Check your messages, he said. She switched to WhatsApp. A video file waited. She played it with the volume low. It was them, 2 years ago, in a cheap hotel in Festac. The camera angle was from his phone, propped on the nightstand. Intimate. Private. Her laughter, his whispers. Then darkness. A follow-up text. Beautiful memories, right? Cancel the wedding or this goes everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, your mother's church group. Your choice. Or 5 million. Cash. You have 1 week. Sophia's knees buckled. She sank onto the bed, the white lace dress pooling around her like spilled milk. Lara knocked. Sophia? You okay in there? She forced a smile when the door opened. Just emotional. It's really happening. But inside, something cold and sharp had taken root. That night she lay beside Victor, listening to his steady breathing, and stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles. She thought of her father's old saying, a secret is only a secret until it isn't. Then she thought of the jewelry box on Victor's dresser, gold chains, diamond studs, pieces his mother had left him. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she would go to the market. Tomorrow, she would find a way. Because some secrets were worth more than others. And some loves were worth any price. The week that followed Victor's proposal felt like walking on cracked concrete. One wrong step and everything would give way. Sophia wore the ring turned inward on her finger when she was at home, slipping it back into place only when she left the house. Grace had already started calling caterers, listing aunts and uncles who must be invited, measuring the compound for extra canopies. The house buzzed with fragile hope. Sophia told no one about the video. She met Daniel at a quiet beer parlor behind Computer Village 2 days after his ultimatum. The place smelled of stale smoke and spilled palm wine. He sat in the back corner, nursing a bottle of Legend, eyes bloodshot but focused. You came, he said, almost surprised. I don't have a choice. She slid into the seat opposite him, keeping her bag on her lap like a shield. 5 million. That's impossible, Daniel. You know it. He leaned forward. Your new man builds bridges for the government. He's got deep pockets. Ask him for a loan. Tell him it's for your mother's hospital bills. Nigerians love a good sob story. Sophia's jaw tightened. I'm not dragging Victor into this. Then find another way. He tapped his phone screen. The video thumbnail stared back at her, blurred, intimate, damning. Or I send it to his family WhatsApp group first. Then Twitter. Then your church choir. Choose. She stared at the table, wood scarred with old bottle rings. If I pay you, you delete it. Everything. And you disappear. He gave a small, bitter laugh. I'll delete what you see. But I keep backups. Insurance. She felt nausea rise. How much time do I have? 3 days. Cash. No bank transfer, too traceable. She stood without another word and walked out into the humid evening. Okada horns blared around her. She flagged one, gave the driver Victor's address in Lekki, and spent the ride trying not to cry. That night she waited until Victor was asleep. His breathing was deep and even beside her. She slipped out of bed, bare feet silent on the marble floor, and opened the dresser drawer where he kept his mother's jewelry. Gold bangles, a heavy necklace with emerald drops, diamond studs in a velvet box. Her hands shook as she selected the pieces that looked most valuable. Nothing too flashy, nothing he wore often. She wrapped them in a silk scarf from his wardrobe and tucked them into her handbag. The next morning she told Victor she had an early errand with Lara. He kissed her forehead, told her to be safe in traffic. She smiled until the gate closed behind her. Balagan Market swallowed her whole. She moved through the narrow aisles, past shouting traders and piles of ankara, until she found a discreet dealer Lara had once mentioned, a thin man called Babatunde who bought second-hand gold without many questions. He weighed the pieces behind a curtain, muttering under his breath, then counted out 3,800,000 in crisp notes wrapped in rubber bands. It's not enough, she whispered. Market price, my sister. Gold is down this week. She took what he offered. It would have to do for now. She met Daniel that evening in the same beer parlor. He counted the money twice, eyes narrowing at the shortfall. 3.8? You think I'm joking? It's all I could get on short notice, she lied. The rest in 2 days. Just, delete it now. Show me. He opened his phone, played the video, then went to the delete option. She watched the progress bar empty. He showed her the recently deleted folder, empty. Then he held up the phone so she could see him empty the cloud backup too. Happy? He asked. She nodded, throat too tight for words. He leaned close. Tell your rich boyfriend thank you. His money tastes sweet. She left without looking back. 2 days later the demands doubled. The message came at midnight while she lay beside Victor again. Quadruple. 15 million total. Or the video goes to his mother first, she's in his contacts. Then his project partners. Then everywhere. You have 48 hours. Sophia stared at the screen until it blurred. She thought of running, to the police, to Victor, to anyone. But the shame burned hotter than fear. In Nigeria, a leaked sex video didn't just ruin a woman, it erased her family's name. Grace would never recover. The church would whisper. The cousins would stop calling. She needed more. The next night she returned to Victor's. He had a late meeting, came home tired, fell asleep quickly. She waited until the clock showed 2:17 a.m., then rose again. This time she chose carefully, a Rolex watch he rarely wore, cufflinks with tiny diamonds, another set of gold earrings. Her conscience screamed as she closed the drawer. But when she reached the living room on her way out, the lights snapped on. Victor stood by the staircase in his dressing gown, arms folded. Where are you going? He asked quietly. She froze, bag clutched to her chest. I couldn't sleep. Needed air. At 2 a.m? With my mother's jewelry in your bag. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Victor. He stepped closer. The first time things went missing I blamed the maid. I fired her. Gave her 3 months' pay so she wouldn't suffer. Then I installed cameras. Quiet ones. In the bedroom. In the hallway. He picked up a small remote from the center table and pointed it at the television. The screen flickered to life. Grainy night vision footage, Sophia opening the dresser, selecting pieces, wrapping them, glancing nervously at the sleeping form in bed. She watched herself commit the theft in perfect silence. Victor's voice was calm, almost gentle. Explain. Tears came fast. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Before she could answer, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Daniel's number. She lunged to silence it, but Victor was faster. He picked it up. Who's calling at this hour? Don't answer. He swiped. The call connected on speaker. Daniel's voice filled the room, slurred but sharp. Baby, time's up. Send the rest or your engineer boyfriend sees everything. Starting with the hotel video. I've got it queued. Victor's face changed, confusion to realization to cold fury. He ended the call. Looked at Sophia. You've been paying him, he said. It wasn't a question. She sank to the floor. He has a video. From before. His blackmailing me. I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want Mummy to see. I thought if I paid him once. You stole from me. Twice. I was going to return everything. I swear. Victor stared at the frozen footage on the screen. You let me fire an innocent woman. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was scared. He walked to the window, back to her. Get out. Victor, please. Get out. She stood on trembling legs, gathered her things, and left. The gate clanged shut behind her like a prison door. Outside, Lecky was quiet except for distant generators. She walked to the main road, hailed a Bolt, gave the driver the Ikea address. Tears streamed the whole way. When she reached home, Grace was asleep. Sophia sat in the dark living room, phone in hand. She dialed Daniel. He answered on the first ring. You won, she said dully. He saw everything. The marriage is off. You happy now? Silence. Then a low chuckle. Not yet. But we can fix this. What? Come back to me, Sophia. We start over. No rich man. No secrets. Just us. Like before. She laughed, a broken, hollow sound. You destroyed me. I loved you enough to fight for you. She closed her eyes. Meet me tomorrow night. My place. We'll talk. Really? Yes. Bring wine. We'll celebrate. New beginnings. She ended the call. Then she went to the kitchen, opened the bottom cupboard where Grace kept rat poison for the occasional cockroach. She poured a small measure into an empty bottle of Sprite, shook it until it dissolved. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow everything ends. The rain came down in sheets that night, the kind of Lagos downpour that turned streets into rivers and drowned every sound except the drumming on zinc roofs. Sophia sat alone in the living room of the Ikea house, lights off except for one dim bulb in the kitchen. The air smelled of damp concrete and the faint metallic tang of fear. She had spent the day preparing. Grace had gone to spend the night with her sister in Maryland, something about a church women's fellowship, so the house was empty. Perfect. Sophia had swept the compound twice, mopped the floors, wiped every surface until her hands ached. She told herself it was to calm her nerves. In truth, she was erasing traces before they even existed. The bottle of Sprite sat on the kitchen counter, innocent green plastic hiding poison. She had measured carefully, enough to knock him out, slow his heart, stop his breathing without immediate alarm. The rat poison packet was buried deep in the outside dustbin under layers of kitchen waste. No one would look twice. At 9:47 p.m., headlights swept across the gate. Daniel's Okada dropped him off. She heard the engine sputter away into the rain. She opened the gate before he could knock. He stepped inside dripping, carrying 2 bottles of red wine in a black polythene bag. His eyes were brighter than they'd been in weeks, hopeful, almost tender. You really called, he said, voice soft. I thought you'd ghost me again. Sophia forced a small smile. Come in. You're soaked. She led him to the living room. He set the wine down, shook water from his jacket like a dog. She noticed how thin he'd become, cheekbones sharp, collarbones pressing against his shirt. Guilt flickered, then died. I brought your favorite, he said, holding up one bottle. The sweet one from ShopRite. Remember when we used to drink this on campus and talk till morning? She nodded. I remember. They sat on the old sofa. She poured wine into 2 mismatched glasses, hers half full, his generous. She sipped slowly. He drank faster, eyes never leaving her face. I've been thinking, he said after the first glass. We can start again. Properly. I've got that website contract finished, got paid last week. Not millions, but enough for rent. A small place in Yaba. We can build from there. No rich man. No secrets. Just us. Sophia stared into her glass. The wine tasted like vinegar. You ruined everything, Daniel. I fought for what was mine. I was never yours. He reached for her hand. She let him take it, fingers cold against hers. Let's go to the bedroom, she said quietly. Like old times. His eyes lit up. He stood, pulling her with him. In her room, the same room where she'd once dreamed of university graduation parties and wedding veils, he kissed her. She kissed back mechanically, tasting salt and desperation. His hands moved over her like they still had rights. She endured it, counting seconds in her head. Afterward, he lay beside her breathing hard, satisfied. She slipped from the sheets. I'm thirsty, she murmured. Let me get water. He mumbled something sleepy and rolled over. In the kitchen she moved quickly. She filled 2 glasses from the tap, one plain, one with the doctored Sprite poured in. Her hands shook so badly she nearly spilled. She carried both back to the bedroom. Here, she said, handing him the poisoned one. He sat up, took it without looking, drank half in one long swallow. Then the rest. For a moment nothing happened. Then he coughed, once, sharply. His hand flew to his throat. What did you? He tried to stand. Legs buckled. He collapsed back onto the mattress, gasping. Foam gathered at the corners of his mouth. His eyes widened in terror and understanding. Sophia watched, frozen. You poisoned me, he rasped. You poisoned my life first. He reached for her. She stepped back. His fingers clawed air, then fell limp. Convulsions started, short, violent jerks. Then stillness. She checked his pulse. Nothing. The room spun. She sank to the floor beside the bed, staring at his open eyes. Rain hammered the roof like applause. She didn't cry. Not yet. Instead she moved. She wrapped his body in the bedsheet, dragged him to the kitchen, slow, inch by inch, back screaming. She tied his wrists and ankles with electrical cord from the drawer, though it no longer mattered. Habit. Precaution. Then she dialed Victor. It rang 6 times. She almost hung up. He answered on the 7th. What do you want, Sophia? His voice was ice. Please come, she whispered. I need you to see something. Before I call the police. Silence stretched. 5 minutes, he said finally. Then I leave. He arrived in 20, rain-soaked, jaw set. She opened the gate. He stepped inside without a word. She led him to the kitchen. Daniel lay on the tiled floor, sheet half open, face slack, skin already waxy. Victor stopped in the doorway. What have you done? He came here tonight, Sophia said, voice flat. He wanted me back. I let him think he could have me. Then I stopped him. Victor's gaze moved from the body to her face. You murdered him. I ended the blackmail. The threats. The video. Everything. Victor walked closer, crouched beside the body. Touched the neck. No pulse. He stood slowly. Why call me? Because you deserve to know the truth. All of it. She took a shaky breath. He had the video. He threatened to send it to your family, your company, everyone. I stole from you to pay him. Twice. I was going to keep paying until he bled me dry. Tonight he asked for more. I couldn't anymore. Victor stared at her for a long moment. You could have come to me. Told me. I was ashamed. Terrified. In this country a woman with a leaked video is finished. My mother would die of it. You would have walked away anyway. Maybe, he admitted quietly, but you didn't give me the chance. She looked down at Daniel's body. Now he's gone. And so is the threat. Victor rubbed his face. We can't just leave him here. I know. They worked in silence. Rain covered their sounds. Victor fetched black garbage bags from under the sink. They wrapped the body tightly, double layers, duct tape at the seams. Sophia found an old traveling bag in the storeroom, big enough. They forced the limbs in, zipped it shut. Victor carried it to the boot of his SUV. Sophia locked the house, turned off lights, left no trace except wet footprints they mopped away. They drove in silence through flooded streets. Victor knew a place, beyond Badagry, where the expressway gave way to bush paths and mangroves. An old farm road his company had once surveyed for a drainage project. Remote. Forgotten. They turned off the headlights near the end, navigated by phone torchlight. The ground was soft from rain. They dug with 2 shovels Victor kept in the boot for site inspections. Mud sucked at their shoes. Sweat mixed with rainwater. Halfway through, distant sirens wailed, police patrol, probably chasing speeders on the expressway. They froze, hearts pounding. The sound faded. They finished. Covered the grave with branches and leaves. No marker. No name. On the drive back, Victor spoke first. I'm not forgiving you tonight. Maybe never. I know. But I'm not reporting you either. She looked at him. Why? Because if I do, everything comes out. The video. The theft. My name dragged through mud. My mother would never recover. And maybe I still love you. God help me. Sophia closed her eyes. Tears finally came. They reached Ikija just before dawn. Victor dropped her at the gate. Don't call me, he said. I'll call you. When I'm ready. If I'm ready. She nodded. He drove away. Inside, she showered until the water ran cold. She scrubbed her skin raw. Then she sat on her bed, same bed where Daniel had died, and stared at the wall. 2 days later, Grace returned. She noticed Sophia's red eyes, the quiet. Everything okay, my daughter? Sophia forced a smile. Just tired, Mummy. Grace didn't press. A week passed. No news. No body found. Daniel's neighbors eventually reported him missing. His brother filed a report at the Sophia station. Police took statements, checked bars he frequented, found nothing. Lagos swallowed people every day. One more didn't raise alarms. Victor called on the 8th day. I've been thinking, he said. About us. About everything. And I want to try again. But slow. No big wedding yet. No rush. Just time. To see if we can trust again. Sophia exhaled. Okay. They met the next weekend at a small restaurant in Victoria Island. Neutral ground. They talked for hours, about pain, about forgiveness, about what love owed and what it demanded. He didn't touch her hand. Not yet. But when they parted, he said, I kept your ring. If you still want it someday. She smiled, small, tentative. Maybe someday. Months later, the house in Ikija still stood. Grace's blood pressure stabilized. Sophia found a better job, operations coordinator at a logistics firm Victor quietly recommended. They dated carefully, rebuilding brick by brick. One evening, walking along the lagoon, Victor stopped. I found something, he said. In my father's old files. Your father consulted on one of our early projects. He refused a bribe. Reported it quietly. Saved the company from scandal. Sophia looked up. Daddy. He was a good man. Better than we knew. Tears pricked her eyes. Thank you for telling me. Victor took her hand, first time in months. I'm not saying we forget what happened, he said. But maybe we can live with it. Together. She squeezed his fingers. Above them, the Lagos sky was clear for once. No rain, no clouds. Just stars struggling through light pollution. Somewhere in the forest near Badagry, roots had already begun to curl around a shallow grave. Rain fed the soil. Time did the rest. And in the city that never slept, 2 people tried, against memory, against shame, against blood, to begin again. 9 months had passed since the rain-soaked night in the Ikija kitchen. The calendar now read late November 2026, and Lagos had moved on the way it always did, swallowing grief, secrets, and bodies without missing a beat. Daniel Okafor's disappearance had become old news, a short item in the punch crime section, a missing person poster that faded on Sophia notice boards, then nothing. His brother stopped calling the police after 3 months. The file gathered dust in a drawer at the station. Sophia Adebayo still lived in the family house on Adeniyi Jones Avenue. The walls had been repainted pale cream, the garden was tidier, roses pruned back into submission. Grace's blood pressure medication came regularly now, courtesy of a small insurance payout from one of Emmanuel Adebayo's old policies that had finally cleared probate. The house no longer felt like it was exhaling its last breath. Sophia worked full-time as operations coordinator at Apex Logistics, a mid-sized firm with offices in Apapa and Ikeja. The salary wasn't extravagant, but it covered bills, fuel, and a little extra for Grace's church offerings. She arrived early, left late, kept her head down. Colleagues described her as serious but pleasant. No one knew the weight she carried. Victor Ease had kept his word, slow. No grand gestures. No rushing back into promises of forever. They met once or twice a month, lunch at quiet places in Victoria Island, walks along the Eco-Atlantic promenade when the wind was kind, coffee at cafes where the music stayed low. He never stayed the night. She never asked him to. They talked about work, about Lagos traffic, about the new third mainland bridge expansion his company had just broken ground on. They avoided the past the way one avoids cracked pavement, stepping carefully, eyes forward. But the past had its own gravity. One Tuesday evening in early December, Sophia returned home to find Grace sitting at the dining table with an open envelope. The paper was official, Lagos State Police letterhead. "Mummy." Sophia dropped her bag. "What is it?" Grace's hands trembled slightly as she passed the letter over. It was short, polite, requesting the presence of Miss Sophia Emmanuel Adebayo at the State Criminal Investigation Department, Panti, Yaba, in connection with inquiries regarding the disappearance of one Mr. Daniel Okafor, reported missing on the 15th of March, 2026. Sophia read it twice. The room tilted. "They want to speak to you," Grace said quietly. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Sophia folded the letter with deliberate care. It's probably routine. They're following up old cases. Grace studied her daughter's face. "Is there something you haven't told me?" Sophia met her eyes. "No, Mummy. Nothing." But that night she couldn't sleep. She sat on the balcony until the generators across the street coughed into silence, replaying every detail. The poison, the drive to Badagry, the shallow grave under mangrove roots. Had someone seen the car? Had Daniel told his hacker friend Tunde more than she realized? Had Victor cracked under guilt and spoken? She texted Victor at 2:14 a.m. "Police letter. They want to talk about Daniel. Tomorrow." His reply came at 2:19. "I'm coming over. Now." He arrived 40 minutes later, rain starting again, headlights cutting through the downpour. She opened the gate before he knocked. He stepped inside smelling of wet leather and sandalwood. They sat in the living room, lights low. "Tell me exactly what the letter says," he said. She handed it to him. He read in silence. "They don't accuse," he said finally. "Just inquiries." "That means someone gave them your name." "Who?" "Tunde, maybe. Daniel's friend from the tech hub. He was always suspicious. Or one of Daniel's drinking buddies who remembered you two arguing." Sophia hugged her knees. "What do I say?" "You say the truth. Most of it. You dated Daniel. It ended badly. He became obsessive. You blocked him. You haven't seen him since February. That's all they need. And if they ask about the video..." Victor's jaw tightened. "They won't know about the video unless someone leaked it. And if they do, we deal with it. Together." She looked at him, really looked. The lines around his eyes were deeper now. "You don't have to do this. You could walk away. Again." "I already walked once," he said. "I'm tired of walking." They sat in silence until the rain eased. The next morning Sophia dressed carefully, navy skirt suit, hair in a neat bun, minimal makeup. Grace prayed over her before she left, long, fervent words in Yoruba and English. Sophia hugged her mother tightly. "I'll be fine," she whispered. Victor drove her to Panti. The CID building was squat, faded yellow, buzzing with activity, constables shouting, suspects in handcuffs, fans spinning lazily against the heat. They waited in a corridor that smelled of disinfectant and old files. An inspector named Okone called her name at 10:23. Victor stood. "I'm coming in with her." The inspector raised an eyebrow. "Family?" "Fiancé," Victor said without hesitation. Okone shrugged. "All right. But only one of you talks unless I ask." The interview room was small, one table, 3 chairs, a recorder. Inspector Okone was middle-aged, paunchy, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Miss Adebayo," he began, "thank you for coming. This is informal for now. We're trying to close the file on Daniel Okafor. His brother says you were his girlfriend until early this year." "Yes," Sophia said steadily. "We dated for almost 5 years. We broke up in February. It wasn't amicable." Okone nodded, flipping pages. He was last seen March 10th. Drinking at a bar in Sawyer. His phone last pinged near Ikeja that night. Then nothing. Sophia kept her hands folded. "I didn't see him after February. We spoke once on the phone, argumentative. After that, I blocked him." Okone leaned forward. "Any idea why his phone would be in Ikeja?" "No. Maybe he was looking for me. He got possessive sometimes." The inspector made a note. "His friend, Mr. Tunde Adeyemi, says Daniel told him you were getting married to someone wealthy. Said Daniel was angry. Said he had something on you that would stop the wedding." Sophia's pulse jumped. Daniel said a lot of things when he was drunk. Okone smiled thinly. "Tunde also says Daniel showed him a video once. Intimate. Said he was going to use it if you didn't come back." Victor shifted. Sophia felt the air thicken. "I don't know about any video," she said quietly. "If there was one, I never saw it sent anywhere. And I never paid anyone." Okone watched her for a long moment. Then he closed the file. "We found Daniel's phone last week. Buried near a farm road outside Badagry. SIM card removed, but the IMEI matched. No body. Just the phone, wrapped in plastic. Someone wanted it found." Sophia's mouth went dry. Victor spoke for the first time. "You think he's dead?" "We think someone wanted us to stop looking," Okone said. "But we're looking harder now." He turned to Sophia. "Miss Adebayo, if there's anything else, anything at all, you want to tell me, now is the time. Because if we dig deeper and find inconsistencies, it becomes harder for everyone." Sophia met his eyes. "I ended things with Daniel because he was controlling. He threatened me once, said he'd ruin my life if I moved on. But I never saw him again. I swear." Okone studied her another 10 seconds. Then he stood. "Thank you both. We may call you again. Don't leave Lagos without informing us." Outside, in Victor's car, neither spoke for the first 10 minutes. Rain tapped the windshield. "They found the phone," Sophia whispered. "Someone moved it," Victor said. "Not us." "Tunde. Maybe. Or someone else Daniel confided in." Sophia stared at the wipers. "What if they keep digging? What if they find the grave?" Victor gripped the wheel. "They won't. It's been almost a year. Rain, roots, animals. There's nothing left to find. But if they do, then we face it," he said. "Together." That evening Sophia told Grace part of the truth, that the police were asking routine questions about an ex who went missing. Grace listened, then pulled her into a long embrace. "Your father always said the truth has a way of coming out," Grace murmured. "But sometimes God covers our mistakes with mercy." Sophia cried then, quiet, wrenching sobs she hadn't allowed since that night. Grace held her until the storm passed. Weeks turned to months. The police called twice more, short follow-ups, no new accusations. Tunde disappeared from social media. Rumors said he'd relocated to Ghana after a hacking charge. The file stayed open but inactive. Lagos moved on. Victor proposed again on a quiet Sunday in March 2027. No restaurant, no crowd. Just the two of them on the balcony of his Lekki apartment, sunset turning the lagoon gold. "I kept the ring," he said, opening the box. "But this time I'm not asking for forever right away. I'm asking for a chance to build something real. No secrets. No running." Sophia looked at the diamond, then at him. "Yes," she said. They married 6 months later, small, private, in a chapel in Ikoyi. Grace cried through the entire ceremony. Lara was maid of honor. No extended family drama, no society pages. Just vows spoken softly, rings slipped on trembling fingers. They honeymooned in Cape Town, far from Lagos, far from memories. On the last night, Walking along Camps Bay Beach, Victor stopped. "I still dream about that night sometimes," he said. "The kitchen. The rain." "Me too," Sophia admitted. "Do you regret it?" She thought about Daniel's last gasp, about the weight of the shovel, about the silence that followed. "I regret the choice I had to make," she said. "But I don't regret surviving." Victor pulled her close. "We survived. That's enough." Back in Lagos, life settled into a new pattern. Sophia kept her job. Victor's company won another contract. They bought a townhouse in Lekki Gardens, modern, secure, no history. Grace moved in with them part-time, her health stronger. One afternoon, while sorting old boxes from the Ikeja house, Sophia found a sealed envelope in her father's handwriting. Inside, a letter dated 2 months before his death. "My dearest Sophia, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Know that I tried to build something clean in a dirty system. I refused bribes, reported irregularities. It cost me deals, but it kept my conscience. If trouble ever finds you because of my choices, remember, integrity is the only legacy worth leaving. I love you beyond words. Daddy." Sophia sat on the floor and wept, for her father, for herself, for the girl she used to be. Victor found her there. He read the letter without speaking, then folded it carefully. "Your father would be proud," he said. "I'm not so sure. He'd understand survival isn't always pretty." She looked up at him. "Do you think we'll ever be free of it?" Victor knelt beside her. "Maybe not free, but lighter, day by day." They held each other in the half-empty room while outside, Lagos roared on, horns, hawkers, generators, life refusing to pause. Somewhere beyond Badagry, a patch of earth had settled, grass grown thick, no marker, no memory. And in the city of constant motion, 2 people learned, slowly, painfully, that love after ruin is not a fairy tale. It is a choice. Made every morning. Made every night. Made in silence. Made in truth. 3 years after the small chapel wedding in Ikoyi, Sophia Ease, she had taken Victor's surname quietly, without fanfare, stood in the kitchen of their Lekki Gardens townhouse and watched rain trace slow paths down the floor-to-ceiling windows. It was late October 2029, the tail end of the rainy season, when Lagos felt both washed clean and permanently damp. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the inverter and the occasional splash of tires on the estate road outside. Grace had moved back to the old Ikeja house permanently 6 months earlier, her choice. She said the new place felt too modern, too quiet. She missed hearing neighbors' generators and children shouting in the compound next door. Sophia visited every weekend, bringing provisions and sitting with her mother on the veranda while Grace shelled aguzi or read devotional books aloud. Victor was away in Calabar for a 3-week site inspection, another government contract, this one for coastal defenses against rising sea levels. He called every evening at 8 p.m. sharp. Tonight's call had ended 20 minutes ago. He'd sounded tired but content. The mangrove restoration is actually working. Fish are coming back. Feels like we're fixing something for once. Sophia smiled into the phone even though he couldn't see it. "Come home soon. The bed is too big without you." "Friday," he promised. "I'll bring crayfish from the market." Now the kitchen clock showed 8:47 p.m. Sophia poured herself a cup of lemongrass tea, Victor's habit she'd adopted, and carried it to the living room. The television was off. She preferred silence these days. She opened her laptop instead. The email had arrived that afternoon from an unfamiliar address, shadowwatcher2029@gmail.com. Subject line, "You think graves stay quiet forever?" Attached, 3 files. The first was a low-resolution photo, time-stamped March 11th, 2026, 2 days after Daniel's last known sighting. Grainy night vision from what looked like a trail camera. A black SUV parked on a bush path near Badagry, 2 figures unloading a large bag, digging under torchlight. The faces were blurred by distance and rain, but the license plate was legible. Victor's old Range Rover. She recognized the dent on the rear bumper he'd never fixed. The second file, a short video clip, same night, same location. Audio was muffled by wind and rain, but a man's voice, Victor's, came through clearly enough, deeper. "We can't risk it being shallow." The third, a single still image of Daniel's phone, the one the police had found buried. Someone had photographed it before it was handed over, screen cracked but visible, last message thread open. "To Sophia. Timestamp, March 10th, 2026, 11:42 p.m. Baby, I'm outside your gate. Let me in. We need to talk. I won't hurt you. I just want us back. No reply from her number. Of course there wasn't. She'd been inside, waiting. Sophia closed the laptop slowly. Her tea had gone cold. She sat in the dark for almost an hour, breathing carefully, the way she'd learned to do whenever the past pressed too close. Then she picked up her phone and dialed the only person who would understand. Victor answered on the second ring. You okay? You sound. Someone knows, she said. Silence on the line, then, tell me. She read the email subject and described the attachments. Victor listened without interrupting. I'll be on the first flight tomorrow, he said when she finished. Don't reply. Don't open anything else. Delete the email if you can, but screenshot first. We'll handle it together. Victor, if this gets out. It won't. Not if we're smart. He landed at MMA2 just after noon the next day. Sophia met him at arrivals. He looked older in the harsh airport light, lines deeper around his mouth, eyes shadowed. They didn't speak until they were in the car, windows up, AC blasting. Show me, he said. She opened her laptop on her lap in the passenger seat. He scrolled through the attachments, face unreadable. The photo was taken from higher ground, he said finally. Someone was watching us that night. Not close enough to hear everything, but close enough to see. Tunde. Tunde left for Accra in 2027 after that hacking charge. Last I checked, he was freelancing for a cybersecurity firm there. But he could have come back. Or sold what he knew. Sophia stared at the blurred image of herself and Victor dragging the bag. Why now? After all this time? Money. Revenge. Boredom. Pick one. Victor closed the laptop. We need to find out who sent it and what they want. They drove straight to a small cybersecurity office in Victoria Island that Victor trusted, one of his subcontractors. The owner, a wiry man named Chidi, took one look at the email headers and whistled low. Proton Mail via VPN. Tor exit node in Sweden. Traceable only if they slipped. Give me 2 hours. They waited in a nearby cafe. Victor ordered black coffee. Sophia couldn't eat. She kept checking her phone for new messages. None came. Chidi called at 3:42 p.m. Bad news first, he said when they returned. The sender used a burner SIM registered in Togo. But the IP chain broke at a cafe in Ikeja, same area as your old house. Someone local. Someone who knows your routines. Sophia felt ice slide down her spine. Grace. No, Chidi said quickly. Not your mother. But maybe someone who knows her. Or knows the house. The email was sent from a device that's been dormant since 2027. Same MAC address as a laptop Daniel Okafor used to log into public Wi-Fi at a Yaba Tech hub. Victor leaned forward. You're saying Daniel's old laptop? Or someone who took it after he disappeared? His brother cleared his room, donated most things. But a laptop could have been kept. Or sold. Sophia closed her eyes. Daniel's brother. Emeka. He never liked me. Blamed me for Daniel going off the rails. Victor nodded slowly. We pay him a visit. Carefully. They found Emeka Okafor in Soyulir, in the same Face Me I Face You compound Daniel had once shared with him. Emeka was heavier now, mid-30s, working as a dispatch rider for an e-commerce firm. He opened the door in a faded Chelsea jersey, eyes narrowing when he saw Sophia. You, he said. After all this time. Victor stepped slightly in front. We're not here to fight. We just want to talk about your brother. Emeka looked between them, then stepped aside. Come in. But make it quick. I have deliveries. The room was small, single mattress, old desktop computer, posters of Davido and Burna Boy peeling from the walls. A framed photo of Daniel sat on a small shelf, smiling in graduation gown. Emeka sat on the mattress. They took the 2 plastic chairs. I got an email yesterday, Sophia began. Photos. Video. From the night Daniel disappeared. Emeka's face didn't change. And it shows us burying something. Near Badagry. Still nothing. Victor spoke quietly. We know you cleared Daniel's things. His laptop. Did you keep anything? See anything? Emeka looked at the floor for a long moment. Then he stood, opened a drawer under the shelf, and pulled out a battered Lenovo laptop, same model Daniel used. I kept it, he said. Thought maybe one day the police would want it. They never did. I powered it on last year, cleaned some files. Found cloud backups he never deleted. Videos. Photos. Messages between you two. Angry ones. Threatening ones. Sophia's throat closed. You sent the email. Emeka met her eyes. I didn't know what to do with it. For 3 years I wondered if you had something to do with him vanishing. Then I saw your wedding pictures online. Small, private, but people talked. You moved on. Happy. While my brother is gone. We didn't kill him for fun, Victor said. He was blackmailing her. Threatening to destroy her life. We panicked. Emeka laughed bitterly. Panicked. Nice word for murder. Sophia leaned forward. What do you want, Emeka? Money? Revenge? I want to know where he is, Emeka said. I want to bury my brother properly. Give my mother peace. She still lights candles every night. Silence stretched. Victor glanced at Sophia. She nodded once. We'll take you there, Victor said. Tomorrow. Early. Before traffic. Emeka stared at them both. If you're lying. We're not, Sophia said softly. We owe you that much. The next morning they drove in silence. Victor, Sophia, Emeka in the back seat. Beyond Badagry the road narrowed to dirt track. They parked where they had 3 years earlier. The bush had thickened. New growth covered old scars. Victor led the way with a machete borrowed from a site worker. After 20 minutes they reached the spot. No marker, but Victor knew the angle of the trees, the dip in the ground. They dug together, 3 shovels, no words. The earth gave easily after recent rains. At 18 inches they found remnants, scraps of black plastic, fragments of bone, a silver chain Daniel once wore. Emeka dropped to his knees. He didn't cry. He just touched the chain, fingers trembling. Sophia stood back, tears silent on her cheeks. They gathered what they could into a small wooden box Victor had brought. Emeka carried it back to the car like something fragile and holy. On the drive back, Emeka spoke once. I won't go to the police, he said. Not now. But don't think this erases anything. We know, Victor replied. They dropped him in Sophia. He walked away without looking back, box under his arm. That evening, in their Lekki home, Sophia and Victor sat on the balcony. The rain had stopped. Stars fought through the haze. I thought closure would feel different, Sophia said. Victor took her hand. It doesn't erase. It just makes space. She leaned against him. Do you think we'll ever stop paying? Maybe not, he said. But we pay together. They stayed like that until the city lights came on below, endless, restless, alive. Somewhere in Sophia, Emeka placed the box on a small altar beside his mother's bed. A candle burned beside it. And in Ikeja, Grace lit her own candle, unaware, whispering prayers for children who wander and for mothers who wait. Lagos kept moving. But for the first time in years, the weight felt, only slightly, lighter. 5 years after Emeka carried the small wooden box back to Sophia, the calendar turned to February 2031. Sophia Ease was 34 now, Victor 38. Their daughter, Amora Emmanuel Ease, had just turned 3, named for Sophia's father, a quiet tribute that Grace had approved with tears and a long prayer. The Lekki Gardens townhouse had gained small marks of family life. Crayon drawings taped to the fridge, a plastic slide in the corner of the living room, the faint smell of baby powder mixing with Victor's sandalwood cologne. Amora was a bright, fearless child, dark curls like her mother's, Victor's steady gaze. She loved stories about Grandpa Emmanuel who built big houses and asked endless questions about why the sky cried sometimes. Sophia worked remotely 3 days a week now, managing supply chain audits for Apex Logistics while raising Amora. Victor's company had grown. He was partner now, overseeing coastal infrastructure projects across the Niger Delta. The money was comfortable, the guilt quieter, though never gone. They had never spoken of Badagry again after that morning with Emeka. The grave, if it could still be called that, had been left to time and tide. Emeka had kept his word. No police, no headlines. His mother had buried the remnants in a small family plot in their village near Oari, held a quiet service, lit candles. Sophia sent money anonymously every Christmas through a church intermediary. It was the only bridge they maintained. One humid Saturday morning, while Victor was at a site meeting in Ypres, Sophia received another email. Same anonymous address, shadowwatcher2029@gmail.com, but the subject line was different. She deserves to know who her grandfather really was. No attachments this time. Just a link to a private Google Drive folder. Sophia hesitated, heart thudding. Amora was napping upstairs. She clicked. Inside, scanned documents from 2018 to 2020. Emmanuel Adebayo's company letterhead. Contracts. Emails. Bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts, small at first, then larger. Names of customs officials, politicians, shell companies in Mauritius. One memo in her father's handwriting, payment authorized to expedite clearance. No further questions. Her breath caught. These were the shady dealings Victor had once mentioned finding in old files, the ones he later reframed as anti-corruption efforts. But the documents told a clearer story. Her father had paid bribes to keep his import business alive in a system that demanded them. Not massive corruption, not enough to make headlines, but enough to compromise the man she had idolized. A final file, a short audio recording, dated 2 weeks before Emmanuel's heart attack. Her father's voice, tired, speaking to an unknown caller. "I've paid what you asked. The containers are cleared. But this ends here. No more. If you come again, I report everything, names, dates, accounts. I have records." The caller's reply was muffled, but the threat was clear. "You think records protect you? Heart attacks happen every day in Lagos." The recording cut off. Sophia sat frozen. The kitchen clock ticked. Outside, an ice cream vendor's bell rang faintly down the street. She closed the laptop. Walked upstairs. Amora was still asleep, thumb in mouth, small chest rising and falling. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed and watched her daughter until the little girl stirred and smiled sleepily. "Mummy." "Yes, baby." Story. Sophia pulled her close. Once upon a time there was a man who built things, houses, businesses, dreams. He made mistakes, like everyone does. But he loved his family more than anything. And that love, that's what lasted. Amora yawned. Did he fix the mistakes? Some, Sophia whispered. Some he couldn't. But he tried. And the people who loved him kept trying too. When Victor came home that evening, Sophia waited until Amora was bathed and in bed. Then she showed him everything. He read in silence, listened to the audio twice. "Your father was human," he said finally. "Lagos doesn't let good men stay clean forever." "I built him up in my head," Sophia said. "After he died, after everything, I needed him to be perfect, to make what I did feel less wrong." Victor took her hand. "What you did wasn't about him. It was about surviving. About protecting Grace. About protecting us." She looked at him. "Do we tell Amora one day? About her grandfather? About us?" "Not yet," he said. "Maybe when she's older. When she can understand that love isn't perfect, and neither are the people who give it." They sat on the balcony after that. The city lights glittered below. No rain tonight, just a soft breeze carrying salt from the lagoon. Sophia spoke quietly. "I think the emails stop now." Victor nodded. "Whoever sent them wanted you to see the truth. Not to destroy us. To balance the scales. Emeka. Or someone else who knew your father. Someone tired of secrets." Sophia leaned against him. "I'm tired of secrets too." "Then let them go," he said. "We've carried them long enough." The next morning Sophia drove to Ikeja alone. Grace was in the garden, watering the roses her husband had planted decades ago. "Mummy," Sophia said, "I found some old papers. About Daddy's business." Grace set the watering can down. Her eyes were calm, knowing. "I knew," she said simply. "He told me everything before he died. He was ashamed. But he stopped. Refused the last demand. That's why his heart gave out. Stress, fear, maybe poison, who knows. The doctor said natural causes. I chose to believe that." Sophia's throat tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed him to be your hero, Grace replied. And he was. Mistakes don't erase the good. They sat together on the veranda bench. Grace took Sophia's hand. You've carried enough weight, my daughter. Let it rest. Sophia nodded. Tears came, soft and final. That evening, back in Lekki, she lit a single candle on the dining table. No altar, no ceremony. Just a small flame for her father, for Daniel, for the girl she used to be. Amora wandered in, rubbing sleepy eyes. What's that, Mummy? A light, Sophia said. For people we remember. Grandpa Emmanuel. Yes. And others. Amora climbed onto her lap. Does the light help them? Sophia kissed her daughter's forehead. It helps us. Victor joined them, arms around both. The three sat in the quiet glow until the candle burned low. Outside, Lagos continued. Horns, generators, laughter, arguments, life refusing to pause. Inside, a family breathed together. No more shadows. Only light. Small. Steady. Enough.